Hello. Um, let's see. I'm very disturbed when people are inconsistent or hypocritical. It, it, it bugs me, maybe more than other people, or maybe everyone's bugged by it, but they don't say it. I made a list of times when I've heard people be hypocrites, inconsistent. It's been a few years ago now, about 8 years ago approximately. Arizona passed a law related to immigration, and that law was challenged by the federal government. It went through the court system, and the Supreme Anarchist ruled it unconstitutional, or parts of it unconstitutional. But a quick summary of that law: it did not create any new categories of what is an illegal alien or an inadmissible person. It did not do anything contradictory to federal immigration law. And the federal government does have, prime authority over immigration law. The Arizona law in question had punishments for employers who hired illegal aliens. So it was actually supporting and buttressing and strengthening the federal immigration laws. And it had some provisions for the state or local law enforcement to check on the status, immigration status of people that they were dealing with. Dishonest people reporting about that law described it as like a shocking affront to federal immigration law, or trying to overthrow it or something like that. But it was actually strengthening the federal immigration law, putting some more teeth to it, but not changing what was legal or illegal, or what person was admissible or inadmissible. But some of those same people that were really mad at Arizona for strengthening the federal immigration law, having a law that worked with it and helped it, are for sanctuary cities, where in these sanctuary cities the police will not cooperate with the federal agencies that enforce immigration laws and deport illegal aliens. And I'm not talking about cooperating by like going on, on a raid to round up or catch illegal aliens, but like if somebody's already in custody for a crime, to not call ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, or not to call, not put the notice in the computer system, or to disobey a notice from ICE that they want a certain person when that person's, done with, when that one local police department's done with them, that ICE wants them because they're an illegal alien. If you're one of those people, stop being a hypocrite. Either before federal immigration law, being the immigration law, being the ones, the federal government being the ones who decide immigration law, or against federal government being the one who decides immigration law. But don't be picking, I like this one because that's my political party. That's an example of why the Founding Fathers did not write political parties into our system of government. So we wouldn't have people who decide whether they like a policy based on the political party. Alright. Marriage. So, let's talk about marriage for a second. How are we going to define marriage? What is marriage and what isn't? Who gets that piece of paper that says that they're married? Some people have used as their explanation or reason for why we should give a marriage license to certain sets of people. It's who they love, and that it should be whatever the person wants. Who they love and whatever the person wants are the arguments that are usually used for we have to give a marriage certificate to certain people that would not have had a marriage certificate a few decades ago. And we're not talking about like 1,000 years ago they wouldn't, and then 500 years ago they started getting a marriage certificate. But a few decades ago people would not have got a marriage certificate and a marriage license. Notice I did not say to legalize certain kinds of marriage. It's not illegal if something is illegal, the people doing it are risking, if they are caught, found out, jail time, whipping, imprisonment, a fine, something as a punishment. But especially after the Supreme Anarchist Ferguson ruling, there was no place in all of the United States of America where two people were at any risk of any punishment if they got together and lived together and had sex and called each other husband and husband or wife and wife. So it was legal for people to, it wasn't illegal for people to call themselves, proclaim themselves married before Obergefell. Obergefell did not legalize something. Obergefell meant that that ruling said we now have to give them a paper that says, well, a paper and have less tax money coming in, depending on which tax you're talking about and the circumstances. Less tax money coming in when we have a big, enormous national debt and deficit. So anyway, that's why I use the wording to give them a certificate, give them a piece of paper, and not legalize something. But some people, their claim for why we need to give out the marriage certificates that they say we need to give out as those things. It's who they love, and it's whatever they want. Some of those people, not all of them, I haven't done a thorough survey or study to find what percentage, but there definitely are some of those people who then are aghast at the thought of polygamy. No, we can't have 3 wives. No, only 2. That's a very arbitrary number. The number 2 is an arbitrary number if you're not pulling from, there's 2 categories, 1 of each. It can't be those 3 husbands. It can't be 1 husband, 2 wives. It can't be 1 wife, 2 husbands. You're an inconsistent hypocrite. It drives me crazy when I think about it, those of you who take that position. Now, if the reason we have to give out a marriage certificate is it's who they love and what they choose, then if that's the reason, we have to be giving out polyamorous marriage certificates. Well, if that's the reason, it needs to be legalized. It is illegal to commit bigamy now, to commit polygamy. It is actually illegal now. There are laws on the books calling for criminal punishments for people who do that. So if the Supreme Court says we would have to stop prosecuting that crime, then that would be the Supreme Court legalizing something. But you people who are saying we have to give out marriage certificates to categories that weren't considered marriages a few decades ago. But it can't be more than 2. You are being inconsistent. And you are being all those things you accuse people of being who did not want to give 2 women a marriage certificate or 2 men a marriage certificate. So fill in the blank with whatever you said about those people who said, no, 2 men isn't marriage, 2 women isn't marriage. That's you. Hateful, bigoted. That's you. Yeah. So, here's some food for thought. Food for thought. All the things that you were saying as the debate was raging before the Supreme Anarchists shut their debate down. Although is the debate ever really shut down when it is possible for Supreme Court rulings to overturn previous Supreme Court rulings, and it is, we've only got 20-something amendments to the Constitution. I can't think of a single one of them that was a direct response to a bad Supreme Anarchist ruling, but there is always a possibility for a constitutional amendment to overturn a bad Supreme Anarchist ruling. But there's some food for thought for everybody, but especially for those of you who are claiming that you know whether 3 women really love each other or not. Or those of you who are, sometimes you're saying we need to give marriage certificates because that's what the people chose. But when a woman chooses to share her husband and sometimes encourage him, sometimes just allow him to marry a second wife. So those of you who say that that choice doesn't count, just ask yourself this. When the debate was especially hot about what do we define as marriage, and do we include people of the same sex into the category of what the government defines as marriage. All those things that you were accusing the people of, who were saying we should not make marriage same-sex, that we had no moral obligation to give a marriage certificate to 2 men or 2 women. Could the same things that you accuse them of be made against you in your position on anything? If those same accusations could be made about you now, then please be consistent. And so that's, I think I covered that one good enough. Alright. Freedom of speech is a great thing. It's a great thing for a lot of reasons. But some of you are glad that certain things about society have changed over the decades. There are things that less than 100 years ago were literally a crime. Not just not supported by society, but a crime that now are completely legal. How did those changes happen? Well, one reason that some of those changes happened was society, including those who wanted those changes to happen, were given the freedom of speech and press. So, some of those people who are all for those changes then, now are against the freedom of speech and press. They want you fired from different jobs based on your opinion. They want certain speech to be a thought crime. Not all, not all, not all. So if you're glad about changes that society has made, about who's getting a marriage certificate now that wasn't a few decades ago, and you are for my freedom of speech, and you are not going to try to find out where I work if you find out I disagree with you, then this video segment is not for you. But for those of you who want people to not be allowed to have a government job, not be allowed to have any job, to you want them starving to death and homeless just because of a disagreement about something, you're a hypocrite. The freedom of speech is what got you what you want that we have now. You're an evil person if you're against other people's freedom of speech. Maybe things will move back and forth. We'll see about how things move and societal opinion and stuff. But you're an evil piece of crap. You're an evil person if you are against the freedom of speech of everybody, including those you disagree with. I'm all for your freedom of speech if you have a stupid, bad idea. If you want some society to change in a way that's not a good way for society to change, that's your freedom of speech. And I want your freedom of speech, and I'm not going to try to get you fired from a job as a, there are very limited times when I might try to get somebody fired. You're a school teacher influencing kids. No, you don't get to be a communist, anarchist, but your job's driving a truck. I'm not gonna, restaurant manager, store salesman, store regional manager. I'm not coming out. I'm not gonna try to, protest to get you, petition to get you fired over something like that. Alright. Anyone who claims to be for LGBT rights, meaning the current advocates for that, I'm all for everybody's rights, no matter what their sexual orientation is, but you don't have a right to have me encourage you to do something that doesn't make sense or is a bad thing to do for your health. Morally bad and or bad for your health. And you don't, it's not violating your rights if I tell you reality. But I am for what are actual rights for everybody. But some people's definition of rights is that if I don't call you by a certain pronoun, that I go to prison. That if I say, wait, that's not marriage, there's no reason to call that those two people marriage, you want heads, sometimes literally. I mean, there are people beaten over stuff, or figurative heads, firing from jobs and things like that. You cannot be for all that and advocate for the punishment for the person who needed to kill Trayvon Martin in self-defense, or man Trayvon Martin was trying to beat to death, because it came out in the trial, the it was a murder or manslaughter to charge against him, but a criminal trial of the man who needed to kill Trayvon Martin in self-defense. It came out in that trial that Trayvon called him a faggot. Trayvon's words, not mine. Trayvon called him a faggot and then tried to kill him. Now, see, that's violating a fundamental human right if you kill somebody because of their sexual orientation. That's an example of a fundamental human right that I want LGBTQ to have. No getting killed. But Trayvon Martin tried to beat to death George Zimmerman, and he accused George Zimmerman of being a faggot. You can't have it both ways. So you can't take the position that Trayvon Martin was an innocent life, and it should be a crime to tell somebody who lives the homosexual lifestyle that they're living a sin. Or make it a crime to help somebody with unwanted sexual attraction not give in to that attraction. Alright, the end of this list. Joseph Smith did not plagiarize the Book of Mormon, but there are some people very eager to accuse him of that. I'll make a whole video about that sometime. But if you're accusing Joseph Smith of plagiarizing the Book of Mormon, and you've got some free time on your hands and you're not working 3 jobs or working full-time, going to school full-time, you should spend some of your time accusing everybody else of plagiarism. J.K. Rowling. If Joseph Smith plagiarized, J.K. Rowling plagiarized every other magic book that came before. And you should be finding Harry Potter videos and typing away, J.K. Rowling is a false prophet who plagiarized. Whoever wrote the Young Vampire Diaries wasn't the first person to mention a vampire. The Twilight novel series has a character named Edward and a character named Jacob. If there's ever been another book that has somebody named Jacob in it, and you're consistent with your criteria for what you're accusing being plagiarizing, then you need to find videos about Twilight and in the comments section. What's her name? I'm forgetting her name. Stephanie Meyer. Stephanie Meyer plagiarized. Alright. Well, thank you for watching. Have a good day, and everyone out there, don't be hypocrites. If you think I have been a hypocrite in some way, feel free to tell us in the comments section. Am I hypocritical in some way? Have I been inconsistent? Alright. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.